I can't explain. It's nothing short of a miracle. I've got some scars, but that's how you learn. It's nothing short. I think it over and it doesn't add up. I know it comes from above. I've got miracles on miracles, a million little miracles. Yeah, miracles on miracles. Count your miracles. 1, 2, 3, 4. I can't even count them all. You held me steady so I wouldn't give up. You opened doors that nobody could shut. I hope I never get over what you've done. I wanna live with an open heart. I wanna live like I know who you are. I hope I never get over what you've done. It's not coincidence and it's not luck. I know it comes from above. I've got miracles on miracles, a million little miracles. Miracles on miracles, count your miracles. 1, 2, 3, 4. I can't even count them all. Miracles on miracles, a million little miracles. Miracles on miracles, count your miracles. 1, 2, 3, 4. I can't even count them all. 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 1, 2, 3, 4. I can't even count them all. Yeah, I can't even count them all. I can't even count them all. I try and I can't keep up. I can't even count them all. Yeah, I can't even count them all. Count them. 1, 2, 3, 4. I can't even count them all. Like when you
All right, we are going to start with
Almighty Father, we come before you this morning. Want to thank you, dear Father, for the gift of life. Want to thank you for the gift of another day. Want to thank you, dear Father, for this program. We also thank you for granting our visitors, our guests, journey mercies. We ask you, dear Father, to bless us during this session. Bless all our activities. Bless all the people who are on the way coming. Grant them journey mercies. We put all the activities of today into your able hands. Father, bless us with a successful day. This we ask through Christ our Lord. Amen. In the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mukua. Good morning. Good morning. I want to believe that you had a restful night and that you enjoyed all the sessions yesterday and that we are ready to have the second day of our conference this year of our Lord 2024. We have quite a packed day today, and we really don't want to waste even a minute in doing that, because if we do that, we may end up leaving here past midnight, because we have another event from 5 onwards. And I think actually the organizers are very intentional. They just said that the networking event starts at 5 p.m. plus. So the period at which you finally leave will be up to you. So what do we have for today? We have opening remarks from Professor Nancy Mungai, who is our Director of Research. We have a keynote address from Professor James Njiru, who is our CEO, who is a CEO and Director, Kenya Marine and Fisheries Research Institute. And we'll have a panel discussion, and we will have Dr. Joy Mugambi, who is the Acting County Director, Health Administration and Planning for Nakuru County. She's here with us. Then, instead of Dr. Imgad Jordan from Biodiversity Kenya, we are going to have Professor Kitaka, who will kind of push forward the discussion that will have been begun by the CEO and Director General, Kenya Marine and Fisheries Research Institute. Perhaps before we start, an announcement or two. The first one is, if you are a presenter, the technical team is requesting that you make sure they have your presentation or your paper. And the other one is a matter which is on legal matters, and that's specifically on data privacy. Kindly note that we are videographing as well as photographing this event. If you have any issue on how your photo should be used on our platforms, kindly let us know. Kindly let us know. And this is actually an announcement that should have been done yesterday. So, in case we took a photo of you yesterday and you think we should not use it, you could inform us. And if already it's appearing on our website, we promise that we will pull it down. But again, if you took part in the group photo, that actually means you consented, because we made it very clear that we are going for a group photo. Sindio? Sawa sawa. So if that is noted then, without wasting a lot of time, I wish that we embark on our first item for the day, and that's inviting Professor Nancy Mungai, our Director of Research here at Egerton University, to give the opening remarks. Thank you so much. Makofi kidogo akikuja.
Thank you very much, moderator. Our keynote speaker today, Professor Njiru, our distinguished panelist, Dr. Mugambi, ladies and gentlemen, I want to take this opportunity to welcome you all to this second day of our 15th. Let me take it back. I recognize the presence of the DVC, Academics, Research and Extension, who is also sitting in as the Vice Chancellor. So, sir, we recognize your presence. So I want to welcome us all to this second day of the 15th Biennial International Conference at Egerton University, and appreciate the successful first day that we had yesterday, and allow me to appreciate all the speakers and all the presenters who participated yesterday. We also want to acknowledge particularly the remarks that were made yesterday by the chief guest, Dr. Beatrice Inyangala, the Principal Secretary in the State Department of Higher Education and Research, Ministry of Education, Kenya, through her representative, Dr. Daniel Karanja, who was with us here yesterday, about the efforts the government is seeking to develop a sustainable funding model for university education. We truly appreciate those remarks. I also want to appreciate the remarks that were made by Dr. Karanja yesterday on his own behalf on the need for closer collaboration between universities and policy makers, of course, especially the policy makers in the Ministry of Education. And as was committed by Professor Aduda in his own capacity and also as a representative of the Vice Chancellor, that Egerton University will make every effort to follow up on that challenge to foster closer relationship with the Ministry of Education and other policy makers. I also want to allude to what transpired yesterday, because this to be in the second day. We want to make sure that all those who are watching us and joining us today, I know we have over almost 50 people online. I want to also mention yesterday that there was a quote that was done, and I found it very impactful for me by the DVC. The best leader makes everyone smarter. I liked that quote. And so looking at that quote, and he told us it's from the book, The Multiplier. So this morning, I would like to really pay special tribute to the organizing committee for this conference, led by Dr. Miriam Charibo. So kindly help me to applaud the team for the good work they have done so far. The issue of universities as centers of critical thinking was raised yesterday, that universities must be centers of critical thinking and discourse. And I would like to invite us this morning, as we consider the program that we have today, and as we listen to the presenters today, that we will continue to evaluate, to have critical evaluation of what we are doing and what we are discussing today, so that we can learn, and more importantly, look at different ways of doing what we are doing, or what we continue to do, even in organizing this kind of a conference. The theme of the conference, as we all are aware now, is research for innovative solutions in the 21st century. That is our theme for this conference this year. We know we are running it under 6 sub-themes. But let me just talk about this theme that we're talking about, research for innovative solutions, that we will continue to appreciate innovations, and the fact that innovation is a cornerstone of progress in the 21st century. It is important that we will continue to emphasize the role of innovation in providing solutions. And whether it is in the field of agriculture, where we are innovating, whether it is in the field of technology, environmental science, medicine, or other disciplines, that this pursuit of innovative solutions requires rigorous inquiry, creativity, and collaboration. So we must continue to see that we are employing that rigorous inquiry, and we are continuing to be creative, that we are continuing to collaborate. Because indeed, we know that when we collaborate, then we are able to come up with the solutions that will address the challenges that we are facing. So as we gather here, I'm reminded of the remarkable advancements that have been made possible through scientific research, and from groundbreaking discoveries like the telephone. I know we enjoy the services of a telephone, and that was a discovery of research, a lot of research going into, and a lot of technologies going into the production of the phone that we use on a regular basis, or even medicine. I like to say all the time, it always excites me that I'm able to actually take a tab when I'm not feeling well, and within a very short time, I start feeling better. And that is a result of innovation, isn't it? It's a result of research. It's a result of somebody understanding the human body and how it operates, and therefore coming up with a solution. So as we continue to celebrate these groundbreaking advancements, I continue to challenge us that we must seek new ways of doing what we are doing as researchers. The journey of innovation certainly is challenging, especially in our setting as a third world country, but we must continue to forge forward and say, even within the challenges and the limitations that we find ourselves in, how do we innovate? How do we continue to research in a way that we are able to contribute to solutions? I'm particularly excited that even in today's meeting, that we have a policymaker at the county level, because I believe that part of the reason why we are doing what we are doing is that finally the findings that we have reach out to the community at the ground. So as I conclude my remarks this morning, I want to say that it is my hope that the presentations, discussions, and the interactions that will continue to take place today and tomorrow will not only deepen our understanding of the world around us, but also inspire new ways of research and innovation. That is my prayer, that we will be able to inspire new ways of research and innovation. And as we embark on this collective endeavor, let us therefore remain committed to the pursuit of knowledge, the spirit of collaboration, and the belief that through research, we can indeed create a better world for generations to come. I particularly want to thank the younger generation, many of whom presented yesterday. I commend them for their courage to be able to present the results of their findings. And we wish that that's what we desire to see, because they are indeed the future that we look into. So I thank you very much, and I wish all of us very fruitful and enlightening presentations. And allow me also to invite the DVC, who will invite the keynote speaker. Thank you.
Good morning. Professor Njiru, Dr. Joy, participants, when I come here, sometimes I come here and I don't know what to say, because it is a privilege to stand before such an audience and be told to make remarks. Sometimes the remarks you make could appear stupid. You may have thought that they look brilliant in your head, but when you utter them, they come out very, they look weird. Yesterday I made some few points which Nancy has reiterated, that you researchers, you are multipliers, continue the good work you are doing. I also mentioned that, when you are a researcher, you are independent-minded. You don't fear being against the grain, because through that, many good things have come. Researchers like you are resilient. Nancy was reminding me the other day about Thomas Edison. We now enjoy these lights, isn't it? Edison failed over 1,000 times, and it is almost the 1,000th trial that he did what? He succeeded. So don't give up. You can also be very brilliant, and you end up like Tesla. Tesla, I don't know whether he's a physicist or an electrical engineer. He was doing experiments parallel to what Edison was doing, And the AC current, which later on became dominant in lighting cities, was Tesla's idea. But he was a poor business person. So he died very miserably. So I don't want it to be the extremes. I read a book and they gave an example of Vesilas one of the fathers of human anatomy, who would carry dead corpses to his house to dissect. But he was gifted in also artistry. But he was also replacing Galen, also a former human, a very authoritative who had influenced that field earlier on. So sometimes you can do weird things, which people see as weird, but you influence generations to come. So I keep on encouraging us that once you know you are in the right cause, follow it. There are many examples, and I think I'll use again medicine. The discovery of penicillin, it was a chance observation, isn't it? So colleagues, as researchers, wherever you could be in the field, wherever you would be researching on or in, be observant. Those outliers could be indicative of what? The discovery of microwave, the one now we use, was not out to discover what? That microwave what? But he had a chocolate in his what? Pocket. That was his lunch. And in the process of doing his experiments, I think the microwave, melted what? The chocolate. So he discovered that, something can. So see, now we have a convenience, isn't it? In the form of microwave. How about X-ray? It was a chance discovery. And Madame Curie and others paid with their lives, because they have discovered a phenomenon which they do not what? Do not understand. So the safety aspects had not been considered. So as researchers, you have put your life on the line, but for the good of humanity. So I keep on encouraging you, do so. My weakest area is biological sciences. So when I see a director of Kenya Marine Fisheries, now I'm revealing my weakness. Biological, again, those tough names you read, I don't know. The ones you italicize give me problems in reading. So the younger guys, choose your strength and believe in yourself. We'll support you. Where we sit as a DVC, me, I'm a facilitator. I have the pen to say approved. I have the pen to say what? Disapproved. But if we disapprove for good purpose. Mostly we approve. So don't fear coming to that building, the younger researchers, and we engage and we support one another. County director. I'm told the universities are supposed to influence the counties they are in. Bring all those problems. Don't think. The thinkers are here. Bring. They will think for you. And then they will give you solutions and implement. You implement wrongly, give them more problems. We are there to work, what? Together. You are supposed to implement. The thinkers are supposed to be here. So let us work what? Together. Kenya Marine Fisheries. I know some of my friends have worked there. So you are also now a friend because you have worked where my friends have worked. Call these other people to work together because you are the people who have those ocean-going what? Vessels. Oduor doesn't have. And I realize you are hugging because you know one another. Oduor, give him more students to go to the ocean. Some are good marine scientists, but they have never been into the ocean. So you've gotten a partner. I've made many remarks. Director, come and make your keynote speech. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And as he set up the good morning, I'm happy to be here. DVC, actually, this is home. I've been here a couple of times. I can see Professor Ketaka is here. She's coming. Dr. Omondi, of course, oh, she's outside there. I've taught students here during this course of limnology. I've also been your external examiner, and so I'm not very new. Before I start, I want to say thank you very much to the organizers, especially Dr. Otachi, who has been pulling me all the time. I was supposed to have been in Kakamega in a presidential function today, and my people are calling me, and I'm not telling them where I am. But I thought academia, to me, takes precedence, and that's why I decided to come here, not to go where there are politics, although politics are also very important. Professor, don't be scared. I'm not going to use any taxonomic ones. I will do that with Dr. Omondi in class. I'm an administrator now, so I'll try to be as simple as possible as I move on this whatever today. You're giving me how many minutes? I need to. I don't go beyond time. Sorry? You want to be sure, you know, in academia, you need to be very sure. Professor, I said in physics, you need to be very certain. So let me know, so that I don't go beyond. So as they decide, okay. Of course, my first. Now he has reduced so I shouldn't have been asked. No, he has even reduced the amount of time. If you look at the program, it talks about 45 minutes. Now he's telling me half of that. So that's the problem of asking. No? Next time I'll not ask. So I'll try, but now I'm done. I talk for about 30 minutes, so I'll try. So let's go on. Quickly, of course, I come from Kenya. Next slide. Kenya Marine has got 12 stations all the way from Mombasa to Turkana. We're having almost another whatever coming in Western. That's why we were given the title by the president, so that's why I wanted to be there, but I was not there. Be there today. Let's go on. I will not go to the details. Our mandate is to do research in aquatic environment. Let me leave it at that because of time. And these are the areas. But the key thing is to provide information, especially for the development of blue economy. We have a ship, as a professor has said. So we welcome your student to come on board our ship. Let's go on. So what is blue economy? I know this is a word which has been in the lips of many people for quite some time now. Blue economy covers all blue species. Aquatic, probably, aquatic is not very difficult. It's not scientific as such. It is water. It can be water under the ground. Where there's water and the resources which are within, we refer this as blue economy, as long as we use them sustainably for economic growth, for jobs, and of course, preserving the ecosystem. Let's go on. We have very many facets, sectors of blue economy. There are almost 9 of them. Unfortunately, today I'll be talking on only one of them, that is the fisheries. So we have fisheries all the way to marine transport. But because of time and because of expertise, I'm more comfortable with fisheries. Let's move on. So fisheries, go on. Let me take you back. For those who are geographers, you know, the space of Kenya is about 580,000 square kilometers. 580 square kilometers is Kenya. The marine part of Kenya is about 245,000 square kilometers. Why am I driving to this? 42% of our land is in the ocean. those people who like land so much, those people of Mount Kenya, my brothers and sisters from Mount Kenya, there's a lot of land, and Kisii, there's a lot of land in the waters. We don't seem to realize 42%. So this is very key in terms of blue economy. That's the message I wanted to bring across as I move on. 42%. Let's go on. So currently, the marine resources, what we get is about 36,000 metric tons, which is about 9 billion Kenyan shillings. But from our own research, and I guess the theme is about innovative research, we have been able to estimate that we can get up to 100,000 metric tons, which will give us almost 100 billion. So that's almost 10 times what we are getting. And if you land and you process, you can get another 10 billion. So there's a lot of potential. Some of the fish we get in the ocean are there. Let's move on. So this is what we have done. This is there's no pointer. This is our ship on this other side. That is the Kenya Exclusive Economic Zone, the one we call EEZ. And that's what I'm talking about. And that's the amount of fish we get. And we are saying we can get almost 100 billion, a lot of potential. Move on. I want to pick one fish. There's one fish which is very important, and I'm sure, Prof, you have not eaten it. Probably you have. It's called the tuna. Tuna fish is one of the most expensive fish in the world. We have the yellow, the big eye, and many more. Most of this fish is normally breeds in the Somali. That is Somali part of the world, and comes to Kenya and goes to Seychelles. Apparently, it's because of the upwelling. Upwelling is mixing of the cold water with nutrients and others. So it's very rich. They go and it migrates and goes all the way to Mauritius. But let's go to the next slide. You see, Kenya, what we are getting is about 1,000 metric tons per year. You see what, I'll just use the Seychelles alone. Seychelles are getting 220,000 metric tons. And you see what they are getting in terms of money value, they are getting 53 billion. We are getting a patry 300 million. If you look at the contribution to the state, to the GDP of the country, to us is 0.2. Them is almost 13%. I'll be coming back to that later on in terms of blue economy. So in the last almost 40 years, more than 40 years, we have lost almost 2 trillion Kenya shillings by people fishing on our waters, because the fish does not wait for you. Somebody else is catching the fish. And I'll be coming back to that and see how we are, as a government, we are trying to capitalize and optimize on these laws of 90 or so billion. Go ahead. In terms of inland fisheries, that is the one probably you know about, like Lake Victoria. I'm sure, Prof, you know about this. Then Ngege, Mbuta, and the rest, Omena. So our catch is about 130 metric tons, 130,000 metric tons per year. It is valued about 15 billion Kenya shillings. 90% of the catch is from Lake Victoria. Let's go on. So these are the lakes in Kenya. Madam Nakuru is not one of them because it's a park. Of course, we'll come to that later on. You see, in terms of catches, the biggest, the largest is Lake Victoria, then Turkana, Naivasha, Baringo. In average, we can get about 130,000 metric tons, value at 15 billion, but we can be able to get almost twice that, almost 40 billion. I'll be coming back to that. So this is the entire Kenya. This is aquaculture, the one we farm, and most trees in Ngege, Nile tilapia, catfish, and milkfish. When I read the word milkfish, Prof, I thought it produces milk, but it does not produce milk. I'll tell you later on why it's called milk. So it's a milkfish, mostly in Mombasa. So the trade is about 30,000 metric tons, about 5 billion, contributing only 5%. A lot of potential. I'll be coming to that later on in terms of blue economy, in terms of research. There are other resources which are very critical, which we have not been able to exploit. And this is where research is very important. We're thinking about things like cobalt, sulfides, and many more, which are very important in medicinal. I think Prof I think he should have become a medical doctor. He is so much biased towards physics and medicine. And there are very important things which can be used in the ocean, which we have not been even scratched the surface. So this is where research comes in and innovation comes about. Probably we talk about later on as we move on. Let's move on. I'm not going to go, there are very many challenges. I will not name them, but probably I'll go to a few of them and explain our research and how we have done as an institute and also as a government in trying to turn around challenges to, Prof, I'm getting the challenges to what? I mean, you want to make challenges to be more useful to you. And I think that's what Prof was telling you. So there are many of them. Let's go to the next slide. One of the major challenges we have in the country now is decline of catches. If you go to Lake Victoria, those who are there in the 80s, Gege used to be very plenty. Now it's not there. So we are shifting now to modern fish farming. Those who have been in Lake Victoria of recent, you see a lot of cage catcher, farming in the lake. And I'm very happy, there are women who have gotten into this in a very big way. We are also doing it in the marine waters. So we want to shift the farming from the waters, the capture fisheries. I know Professor Kitaka knows about this. To farming in the lake and farming in the land. Let's go to the next one. We have also, as a research institution, also with other bodies, in aquaculture, the two key things which are important is the fingering. The fingering is the small fish. It's called fingering because it's the size of a finger. So don't ask me. It's not technical, Professor. It's fingering. It's because it's like a finger size. Professor Getaka will tell you, and Stephen. So in aquaculture, two important things: the fingering and the food. Those are the major inputs. The fingerings contribute probably 40 or so percent. The feed contributes almost 60 to 70%. So in terms of science, you have to get innovative ways of trying to reduce this. And as an institute and many other bodies, we have been able to come up with a way of improved fish scenes, which are growing faster, and probably in the panel discussion and questions you'll be able to tell you, we are now at F8. F8 is 8th generation. We'll go to the next one. Almost halfway, I can see the moderator. Then we are also using technology for alternative fish feed. There's a fly we called black soldier fly. I know Dr. Modi knows about this. It looks like a house fly, but it's not a house fly. It's found in the wild. Does not cause any diseases. The maggots are very good in terms of protein. So because most of the protein of fish feed comes from omena, and you are competing with human beings in terms of eating omena, so we find an alternative source of protein. So black soldier fly is one alternative, and we are getting fish feed on that. Probably to discuss. Move on. The other one is, I'm just giving this one in terms of areas we have transferred technology to women groups, and the rest at the coast, and many more areas around the world. Move on. The other thing we're doing in terms of aquaculture is diversification. We only talk about fin fish. Fin fish are the fish with a fin. That's why we call them fin fish. But there is also shellfish. Shellfish are the ones with a exoskeleton, probably now becoming more biological. Exoskeleton is where the backbone is on top of the, yours, Prof, is inside. But for the crabs and the lobsters and the rats, the backbone is, or whatever, the cover is on top. That's why we call them shellfish. It's an area which has not been done well, and these are very lucrative area in terms of food, like hotels. A plate of prawns, Professor Getaka will tell you, at Tamarid, we are talking about 5,000. Compared to Ugari, we eat here of 110 shillings or to 120 at Mapima. So it's an area where we need to venture into. Thank you very much. I move to the next. Then the other area which is very important is seaweed farming. There's a lot of seaweed in the ocean, which has not been utilized very well. I think this has, yesterday I was at South Coast, and we're having now the issues to do with food. I'm sure next time when you come to Mombasa, Prof, I'll take you and buy you a dish of seaweeds. It's expensive, shampoos and the rest. And for Modi, last time when your Modi was not saved, he was taking a beer. Seaweed is very important in terms of filtration. So there are many uses of seaweed, and especially in the Asian countries. So it's an area where we have not, as a country, utilized properly. And in terms of science and innovation, this is an area where we can turn around the economy of this country. Move on to the next one. Ornamental fishery. Ornamental fishery is another area. I'm not sure if DVC you have whatever in your office. I would recommend you have one as you move on. It is very important in terms of health, and especially your office is very stressful when all these students and the staff are giving you this problem. Normally, when it has been shown that health and things like stress are reduced drastically by having a water aquarium, a grass aquarium in your office. I'll give you more details as we take lunch or something else. And it also creates jobs for the youth. We are talking about the better, the bottom-up transformation agenda. Okay, so like here, it's one of the areas we have supported. That's in the office of. We have been to the office of the president. We have to State House. We have been to OPS, that is End of Public Service. Some CSs. The lady there is a secretary to the cabinet. That's a governor from Mombasa. We are trying as an institute to try and entice them to buy these, to create jobs for the youth and all those other benefits. And it's an area which is growing very quickly. So I'm hoping the DVC could consider that, and also we support you. The other thing we are thinking as a research institution is to have large-scale farming of large-scale farmers getting into fish farming. This is a farm. I hope nobody will see after this. This is a president farm somewhere. I will not say anywhere where it is. And we have enticed him to start fish farming. And he's very willing. And what we are trying, we are talking about innovation, but not innovation in science. That's innovation in attitude. Because when you get the big people start doing this, they know where the shoe pins. So in terms of many things, we get things a little bit easier. Go on to the next. The environment. The environment is very key in terms of blue economy. We all know about climate change. So what we are doing as an institute, there is what we call Mikoko. Mikoko is mangroves. I'm sure Mondi, Professor Kitaka has been to Gazi. He talked about Dr. Cairo. So we are selling carbon. And I was asking, how do you sell carbon? Do you know how to sell carbon? Carbon is very expensive these days. You maintain the trees quickly. You don't cut the trees. You don't cut the forest. Carbon is trapped by the trees. So internationally, in the national market, you can sell the carbon which has been trapped. Mangroves normally trap almost 5 to 10 times more than the normal trees. So you get more price in maintaining mangroves. Like in Islamu, they are getting almost 100 million per year by maintaining their forest. So, Prof, I don't know if you have any forest around your area. We can come and buy carbon from you as we move on. And the money they get, they normally use it for social amenities, schools, and the rest. Climate change is very key. That is whitening of the coral reefs. But again, as an institute, using science, we have been able to plant coral reefs in the ocean, and after a few years, the fish comes back. Move on. This is where we're talking about use of climate, use of environment, use of youth. These are somewhere in Kilifi. So when you come to Kilifi, there's a place called Dabaso. We are the people who started this process with the youth. So what they are doing, they are fattening the crabs. So all that meal which is there is either crabs, and I'm sure Professor Gitaka has been there, has eaten this meat. Yeah, he's nodding, so I know she has been there. So those are mangroves. You walk through the mangroves. They don't cut. They protect the mangroves. They are walkways. So those are tourists. Then after that, you come and eat fish, which has been grown in the mangroves without cutting the mangroves. So innovation, use of science, and protecting the environment. There's a paradigm shift in terms of what we are doing in the world. The government itself, starting with the president, and the better, whatever, they are now aware about the paradigm, about the EEZ, and I'll give you examples of what is happening. Just go to the next one. Infrastructure development. For those, that is Liwatoni. Now, you know the fish I talked about where we are losing 45 billion Kenya shillings every year. Now the government has built a fisheries complex in Liwatoni in Mombasa. It is building another one in Shimoni, South Coast. It's going to build another one in Lamu. You can see the president there in the middle, also granting support to women. Those who have been around the Victoria, you know, factory farms, and many women groups which are doing very well in fish farming. So the government is supporting them. Here, Kabonyo in Kisumu, the president, again, supporting an infrastructure. Those are our future research institute, Kenya Marine. When you come, this is what you are going to get. Again, the government is supporting all this. I don't go to the details. I thought at 30 minutes now, my friend told me 20. Let's move on. But because I'm prepared for that minute, Prof, and you are here, you can give me a leeway of 5 minutes, right? I'm rushing. Government is also doing a lot of intervention. You must have heard about aquaculture business project. What the government is doing, it is changing the thinking, the attitude of fish farming into a business. So this is in 15 counties. I'm sure, Prof, you come from one of those counties, in the 15 counties. So the government is not biased. It is in the inland, and then there's another project. It's about 15 billion Kenya shillings. Then another one, 10 billion Kenya shillings in Mombasa, the 5 counties. And all these are geared into intervention into fish farming around the counties. I don't see Nakuru. Nakuru, there's no fish probably. We'll think about it as we move on. You should tell your governor is very close to the president to intervene. Okay, that's another day. Our president is also in the forefront in terms of issues of blue economy. You see, you need to get the leadership from the top. If you don't get leadership from the top, our president is a patron of what we call the Ocean Decade Alliance. I will not go to the details. There is also what we call high-level panel. These are bodies up there. Professor Getaka must be aware about this, which make policies in terms of governance of the ocean. Kenya Marine is one of the focal points in Kenya. Let's move on. So these are the high-level panel. When we call high-level panel, these are presidents and heads of states in the world. And you can see it's almost who is to. We have USA, we have France, and we have Kenya. And we have also Japan. So we are at the level of decision-making in terms of issues to do with the ocean, which is very critical in terms of what is going to happen. And you'll see that we are recognized all over the world as a major player in terms of the ocean issues. Go on. I'm about to conclude. I want to bring the issue of blue economy and our budget. Our budget, I could be wrong, our budget is about 3.7 trillion. I know if the economy is still up. Revenue correction is supposed to be 3 trillion. So it's supposed to be, 7 to 3 trillion. We are supposed to borrow 700 billion, Dr. Omondi. But if you look at the 3 sectors of the blue economy I've talked about alone, you know, we talked about 8 sectors. I'm talking about 3 sectors only: marine transport, fisheries, and tourism. If they are well exploited, we can get almost 600 billion. How much do we borrow from one of those sectors? Students who are here for bowling only have 100. So it means if we do the other 5 sectors, probably we borrow nothing. And we become a self-sustainable country without borrowing a cent from everybody, or from anybody. Of course, the West, there's nobody from the West here. Sometimes Modi says he's from UK, so UK can be the West. They don't want you to go this way. They don't want you to be self-sustainable so that you can keep on borrowing. But probably you as leaders and future leaders, if we are able to exploit your own resources maximally, you are not going to borrow from anybody. Go on. So I'm done. So I think the idea in terms of blue economy, research and innovation has come. As the director research talked about, and as your DVC said, and I think the future is you. I think some of us, our minds have rusted, have cobwebs, that's what you used to say. And the future most lies among our young people. But they normally say where they are, we have to lead you also. I don't think you can make it alone. And I was told when I was in Kenya School of Government that there is no way, even if you are very bright in class, there's no way a student will become brighter than the lecturer. You can be very good in mathematics, but you know this, Steve has taught you, Professor Kitaka has taught you, and the rest have taught you. So I don't think you are better than them. So I think the idea has come, and this is a time we should preach the idea of exploiting our own resources by use of science, the information we have, to be able to be sustainable as a country, so that we don't keep on borrowing from UK and others. I think that's the last slide. And go on. So I want to thank all these. That's my minister, of course, our president, because of what he has done in terms of infrastructure development. That is my peers. That's my chairman. These are the countries. The ship was donated by Belgium. And of course, I cannot forget all of you for listening to me. And I want to thank Wanotach for the trouble he has given me. You know, I had to travel all the way from Mombasa last night, landing at almost 9 o'clock, and driving from Nairobi this morning at 4 a.m. to be here. But it's all in terms of knowledge. As I said, there would have been a more political agenda, but I thought science is more important, and I've been able to pass my word. As I conclude, we are holding what we call a Blue Economy Conference. I'm sorry, I don't have a slide. In Kisumu. This is the second Blue Economy Conference. The last one was very successful. We had almost 30 countries with over 300 participants. It is on 17th to 19th of June. DVC, we welcome you. We welcome all of you students. I'll post it in between, I'll say it. Please, I know we have closed the abstract submission, but I'm the boss. So in case you want to submit the abstract, you can submit the abstract through me, and we will be able to accept. We will look forward to seeing you in Kisumu in a very successful Blue Economy Conference in June 17 to 19. Thank you very much, and God bless.
Thank you so much, Professor Njiru. A round of applause to him, please. That's a very, very refreshing keynote address. And what a good way to start our morning today and our second day. The only problem with me is that when you show images that show the ocean, I usually start getting homesick. Because I grew up at a place that is just next to the ocean. Actually, kwetu ni kama hapa, and the ocean is at the pavilion. But anyway, that's a story for another day. Professor Aduda, can I just one of those scientific ones? You know the Mwarubaini tree? In English, it is the neem tree. Its scientific name is Azadirachta indica. That's the only one I know. The only one I know. I'm going to invite Dr. Otachi, who is the chair of this session, to lead us in the question and answer. Karibu. Hata huyu ni waizo. Alafu atatuambia. Man is also called, man is Homo sapiens, right? Ah, okay. I also know that one.
Sorry, I'm the shortest guy, I think, in Egerton. All protocols observed, good morning. Mine is first to appreciate Professor Njiru for finding time and prioritizing this conference. It is a great honor, and we don't take it for granted. And indeed, all the other participants. So mine is very simple. If you have any comment, any suggestion, any question, or any contribution that you wish to make to the keynote address that you've been receiving this morning, you are welcome to do so. So I believe the microphones are ready. Yeah, thank you. So you can raise your hand. Yeah, you can go on, Doctor.
Thank you very much, Professor Njiru. My name is Oscar Donde. I work here at Egerton. First, before I make my comment, allow me to recognize the fact that at one point I had worked at Kemfrey, and I believe within the records you've seen the name Oscar Donde. And again, to let the DVC also understand that at times, when you give me too much work and I get back to the office, I always think of Kemfrey, that should I go back or should I remain here? You've really given us an insight on issues of blue economy and the resources. And the reason as to why I'm making this comment is to the fact that I also come from Kisumu. So I moved from Kisumu. I'm now a resident of Nakuru. And my concern that I'm going to put across is on the issue of fish. As you had said that maybe there's no project in Nakuru because Nakuru has no fish. Nakuru has fish, but the concern is the taste of that fish that we get in Nakuru. I don't know whether it has come to the desk of Kemfrey researchers that the taste of fish within Nakuru tend to be a little, it is kind of tasteless. It might not be realized by those who are born and raised in Nakuru. But if you are born and raised in Kisumu, then you move to Nakuru, you will know that the kind of fish that you consume in Nakuru is not to the standard or to the taste that the fish should have. So as Kemfrey, the concern is that maybe that fish comes from Lake Nakuru, or if it doesn't, then maybe it comes from cage fisheries. Because again, when I go around asking mama fish, now that if you have mama mboga, those who are selling fish are mama fish, right? When I ask them, why is the taste not the same as that which I get when I go home and I get fish right from Lake Victoria? They say, oh, we also get it from Lake Victoria, but maybe because it comes from cage fisheries. So, is there a difference in taste of fish that comes from cage fisheries in the lake as opposed or vis-a-vis that comes from the natural environment? And if Kemfrey is not aware, we are urging that Kemfrey should come to Nakuru and support the fact that we also need to be consuming fish of good quality, fish that is healthy, and fish that is tasty. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. I request that the next set of questions be very brief. Yeah, a few, like 3 more questions. Can I see by hand? Yes, Professor Maritim. Are you asking a question? Sure, yes. And at the back.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your presentation. I think we are learning more about the blue economy. I think that the more you talk in other places, I think the more Kenyans will understand. Now, mine is you talk about 42% of our land is there in the sea. And that's where people should be focusing on. I wonder about the 42%. You know there is a case against Kenya by Somali. They want to take away part of that part of 50%. The way it was mishandled by when he was a legal advisor to Huru. And Somalia has gone to court, international court, to claim that part. What about if we lose that part? What is the remaining? And how it's going to affect the billions of shillings you're talking about? This is a case. It was mishandled, if you read well that case, by the former chief advisor to Uhuru government.
Thank you, Professor Maritim. The other question is Dr. Mukua.
I have one question concerning the safety of the fish in Lake Nakuru. It has been on our news for quite some time, so maybe you can mention something about that. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Mukwe is just... Okay.
My question is a very simple one. Regarding the infrastructural development, I think you concentrated more on marine, but not in the inland fishing. So my question is it because the production from the inland fisheries is not much compared to the marine production? Because I didn't hear of Lake Turkana, I didn't hear of Baringo, I didn't hear of, not much about Lake Victoria, but more was concentrated in marine fisheries. Thank you.
Thank you. At the back, and then online. Then we finish with the director.
Thank you very much, Prof, for a wonderful presentation. Very rejuvenating in the morning. My name is Bernard Olo from the Department of Dairy and Food Science and Technology here at Egerton University. Basically, a fisherman first before academia. So when you talk issues fishing, I really get to align with that. My question is regarding the cage farming. I believe that, of course, it requires a certain level of resources. Typically, our farmers, fish farmers or fishermen are not very well endowed. So to an extent that I feel cage farming may favor those who already have a certain level of resources. What are we doing to empower the farmers or the fishermen that typically would not be able to afford what may be required for the cage farming? Furthermore, who determines the location of the cages? For example, our land goes all the way into the lake. So do I have a right to tell people not to put their cages right in front of my lake front? Or, so that's the question that I have for you. Thank you very much once again for the presentation.
Thanks, Dr. Olo. I suggest we go online and then we finish with the director research. So Dr. Agnes Nguruma, online.
Dr. Agnes, can you hear us? If you can hear, okay.
Yes, good morning, everyone. And I just want to appreciate the presentation, the keynote address. I've learned a lot about the potential that is there in the blue economy. One of the challenges that was mentioned was to do with the low uptake of technology. And being an agricultural extensionist, I am curious to know what interventions are being put in place in order to deal with that challenge of low uptake of technology. Thank you.
Send our director research. And then remember, the discussion will continue because Professor Kitaka will be here on the panel discussion, and it is similar topic, so we'll get more answers. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I think one is a comment and the other is a question. Thank you very much for your presentation. You talked about job creation, especially for the youth and the opportunities that there are in fisheries. And I wanted to see how can we partner in that area. We being producers of young people who are graduating every year, and we know that some stay out there for a while before they secure opportunities. We want to hear your thoughts on possible avenues of partnership. Number two is a question. You did mention the example of Seychelles and Kenya and the big difference between the revenue that is being generated from fisheries in the two countries. Maybe my question would be, what is the difference in terms of the area that Seychelles commands? Because I know it's a very small country, isn't it? Vis-a-vis what Kenya commands, and why that big difference? And what is your institution doing maybe to bridge that gap? Thank you.
Thank you, but I seek one more question from online. Because, you know, Professor has come all the way from Mombasa just for this conference. I think we can allow one more question. Professor Kahi is online. Can he ask the question or make some contribution?
I think with my question, it appears in the chat, because I expected maybe there is someone who is monitoring the chat to just ask that question to save on time.
Thank you. Then Alex, can you bring the question? Thank you. So, Professor, you can be answering some of these questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'll start with that one of Oscar. In terms of taste, we have done studies as Kenya Marine, and fish which has been in the cage, and also in the lake. I know I've lived in Lake Victoria for 13 years. There isn't much difference. Sometimes it's attitude, it's psychological. And I think the way Prof was saying here, we need to change your psychology. You see, this fish is from a cage, this is from whatever. From our studies, no difference. We have given people fish which has been from the lake and from the cage. Sometimes they are not able to identify. But of course, people who have lived in the lake region for quite some time, normally fish from the lake has algae-like, smell and the rest. And do you think now we are the gurus in terms of... but to conclude, normally if it's well cooked, it's very difficult. But that's not the point. The point is, and probably I can join that one of Lake Nakuru. Probably why you feel it is Lake Nakuru fish, if it is cooked well, irrespective of what it has, it is fish. Because your tank has no measures of heavy metals and the rest. Probably even with heavy metals, it's more sweeter on a lighter note, but don't say that. But in terms of safety of fish in Lake Nakuru, yes. As a research institution, we have partnered with the county, and we have the right person here. She's in the area of health. It is not safe to eat, okay? It has some heavy metals, which with time will accumulate in your body. So we have said, do not eat fish from Lake Nakuru. But I know this is Kenya. Sometimes it ends up in your plate. So that is beyond us. As we have passed the gospel, just like Jesus did. You can listen to the gospel. If you don't want to listen, then the other, for another day. Maritime, yes, 42% of the ocean, of the parties in the lake. It's unfortunate the way the case went. Actually, legally, in the International Court of whatever, we lost, right? But Kenya has maintained that it's territorial waters and deep sea waters. And the president then proclaimed that these are waters. And as when you do research, we have been doing that research in all those waters. If the real thing, but the good thing is that Somalia is becoming now in the East Africa community. So we're hoping, because now we are brothers and sisters, the issue of a fight will ease. But you see, also Somali part of the ocean is the richest part. You see when I showed you about the tuna, also in terms of oil and gas, Somali is richer than Kenya. So actually, we are not fighting Somali. We are fighting other powers. If you look at the Somali president, the prime minister, they have got what we call duo. Now you can conclude what I'm talking about. So they are not fighting for Somali. They are fighting for other countries. In terms of infrastructure, it's only I didn't have time, madam. I've talked about Kabonyo. Kabonyo is in Kisumu. Kabonyo is just before you reach Kisumu. The government is investing 2 billion. The president himself came and launched the project. If you go to places like Mulukoba, which is in Busia, you go to places like Asat, Wichilum, we have built as a government infrastructure for cold storage, for fish, very nice infrastructure. And the government is going to build in all the 5 counties. Like now, they are also finished one in Migori. So the government, and you see, the project I talked about, the 15 billion is actually for the 15 counties and for the 5 counties in the Lake region. So, and most of them will be infrastructure and will be also to educate farmers. So the government has not left you out. So there's no Mombasa and there's no, hakuna serikali ya Mombasa na hakuna serikali, I'm not a politician. So, so we have the government where I serve or where you serve, we have given shares equally. Don't quote me outside this room. So there are shares for Kisumu, there are shares for Mombasa. Hakuna shares pande zingine. Kenji farming in Lake Victoria, it's a mess. It's a mess. And you see, when the law was done on the Constitution, do you know aquaculture is devolved? It's under the county. The law is saying is only fishing, which is under the national government. What is fishing? Aquaculture, when you fish, when you're moving fish from the cage is fishing. Does that become national, or does it become? So there's a challenge because aquaculture is a devolved function. The investors went to the lake without any program at all. Now we are trying, and investors normally are very fast. They move faster than us scientists. They went and invested very quickly. And that's why you see they invested in the wrong places. And that's why there have been several fish kills in Lake Victoria, because they went and did it in the shallow areas. Now, the government, with the county government, we have done what we call regulations. So we want to remove them now, slowly. We are also doing what we call marine spatial planning. Marine spatial planning is try and partition what should be done where in the lake. So once that is done and is passed, it has gone to the cabinet now. It has been passed in cabinet. Once it's done, now we'll use the county government and the other government to remove them from where they are. But the ecosystem has removed some of them already, the ones through fish kills. So if the land is, you're talking about, if you are near the lake, the land extending to the lake is if it is yours. I think there are also laws in this country, and probably Madam Kitaka, who is very familiar with limnology, that land actually is riparian. 100 meters from the any river is not your land. That is government land. So if you are there, you cannot invest in anything there. I think Professor Kitaka will emphasize on that. So you don't have any land as an individual in the lake. And lake is public, and there are laws. If you go to Walma, it's public land. That's why the government now and the county governments are coming in to try to regularize. So, and now we are having also a challenge. Now, county of Busia and the county of Boma Bay now, you see, this land called water belongs to us. And we can issue license the way we want. We have told them in national government that there's a carrying capacity of how many boats you can license. But you see, they're also looking for revenue. So it becomes a mess. So that's why we have to work very closely with the county so that, and we have seen this in Nakuru, I'm sorry, she's here, whereby the national government want to license fishing, because fishing is a national whatever. But now, the county government have also done what we call bylaws. And their bylaws have allowed them to get revenue in the sector of fishing. So again, we need to sit down, the ministers, our SPSs, their ministers, to see which is the best way forward, because the resource is public. At the end of the day, if it collapses, Lake Naivasha has collapsed a couple of times. So at the end of the day, online, uptake of technology is low. I think it's low for even in agriculture. But what we are doing as a country now, as in the government, as emphasized, you see the two projects, which the government has funded, 10 billion and 15 billion. There's a lot of extension. And we are working very closely with the counties and very closely with all the stakeholders, so that the uptake of technology is improved. We're hoping as we move on and the government realizes, and everybody like you realizes, blue economy is very critical, then we'll be able to get more people in this area. Director research, he talked about partnership. I think we have talked about this with Professor Kitaka. I think we should have done first an MOU. That's number one. If it is there, the MOU should have been, and the DVC is here, the one who signs. He should have renewed the MOU. Then your student will come to the institute, probably, depends on how the MOU is. Like we have put a very good MOU with Kisii. I come from Kisii, as I'm a faculty member of Kisii. We have got a very good MOU. So our their student come to our institute, probably free of charge. But they also give us, it's give and take, you scratch my back, I scratch your back. You also give our students, our staff, an easy way of doing studies. So they are given us a percentage at Kisii. And all their students come to Kenya Marine free of charge. So that's something we can discuss as we move on. The last question was on Seychelles. It's very small. Actually, Seychelles is probably the size of Mombasa County. Size of Mombasa County. But you can see with fish alone, they are getting 53 billion with only fish. We are getting only 300 million. Why? One, it emanates from our planning. Remember, and the professor will tell you, in 1980 or 1960s, we gave, I think, Singapore alone. Singapore came to Kenya to learn, because we were better than Southeast Asia. Professor, isn't kweli? We were better than them. What happened along the way? Sikuleta siasa, lakini they were able to internalize what they wanted, and they were able to move forward. And 40 years down the road, they are probably 50 years ahead of us. We are now going to the same Singapore to learn how they are doing things. We are hoping the new dispensation can learn. And I've demonstrated to you, we don't need to borrow money from anybody. Professor, we don't need to borrow money from anybody if we utilize our resources the best way possible. Lakini kuna kasumba moja Kenya, mnaijua kila mtu, of probably me, I and myself, and the issue of corruption. And every day I open my television on Sunday, our churches are packed with Christians. I've been able to study abroad. People who go to church are the old people, very old people, like me. And the professor here, there are no Christians in Singapore. There are no Christians in Japan. What is this Christianity of ours? We are singing Hallelujah every Sunday. Let me leave it at that. Let us examine ourselves. In terms of our economy, we are able to turn around this economy if we work together as a team. And don't blame the person up there. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. I hope I've answered all the questions.
Only one. Maybe you can. There is a question from Professor Kai about innovative financing mechanisms for blue economy.
Yes, I did show you that, we call it the KEMFSET, Kenya Marine Fisheries Socioeconomic Project, 10 billion. We have a financing mechanism. And especially for ladies, it has been set in such a way that they want to boost the ladies. You saw the lady who was there. They were given 56 billion. 56 billion, so sorry, 56 million. And there were 3 ladies from 3 groups from Nyanza, my dear. So you're talking about in supporting Nyanza. I can't remember the fish farm. The lady is very good at aggregating women who are doing small fish farming, and bringing them in one area and then selling on her behalf or something like that. So the government gave 56 million for free. And there were 3 groups, another 56 million. So, and also, there are other financing mechanism, of course, during, there's SMEs. You know, there's the ASULA fund, although, of course, ASULA fund, you might, by the time you get 1 million, probably you have to have done several. But we have also used to have, government has also some funds. I can't remember the youth, I don't know if the name, the youth fund and the rest, whereby if you come as a group, you're able to be financed. The county has also mechanism of financing, especially people who want to go into businesses. There are very many of them, as long as you're in a group. And some of them have no, what do you call them, no guarantees. As long as you show yourself you're in a group, and most of these projects we do, we tell you, like the one in Mombasa, you give a guarantee of maybe time, or we tell you are going to give you 90% of the money, and you show what you are going to contribute. You contribute labor, you contribute what we call in kind. So those mechanisms are there. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's appreciate Professor Njiru. I think that is where we wish to stop. We wish to recognize Dr. Dorothy. Please, can you, the rapporteur of the session, please stand up. They recognize you. She was not very comfortable writing the minutes because of the technical language, but I was there to see what she was doing. So thank you very much, and we continue with the other session. Thank you.
Asante sana, ladies and gentlemen. I think it's only fair that we do another round of applause to Professor Njiru, who has really made us, whet our appetite on that cuisine ya marine, si ndio? Asante sana. Lakini nilikuwa natarajia kuona pweza. You know, there is a story they tell about pweza and mchuzi wa pweza in Coast. Okay, that's the other thing that I've never understood is why, what is the name of this place in Kisumu where they sell fish, just at the lake? Dunga, yes. Why is it that fish at Dunga is more expensive than fish in Nakuru? And it's just from the lake, na unakulia hapa, but it's more expensive. It's fresh. Oh, really? Ambience. All right, asante sana. Let's bring that session to a close. And now we just move on pretty fast so that we see whether we can be done with this one by 11. And like I'd said initially, our panel discussion is going to involve Dr. Joy Mugambi, the Acting County Director, Health Administration and Planning for Nakuru County. And we are not going to have Dr. Imgad Jordan from the Biodiversity Kenya. Instead, we are going to have Professor Nzula Kitaka. And that's how it's supposed to be pronounced, by the way. Okay? Who will take forward the discussion that Professor Njiru has started, and perhaps even, garnish it. You also realize that Professor Njiru kept on.
Excuse me?
Talking
I'm actually
about
online, So I don't know whether I'm now excluded from the panel because I'm not there in person, but I was preparing to be on the panel online. Just to be aware, otherwise I appreciate your conference and would move on with my...
It's okay, Professor Jordan. It's okay. I will stand guided and just remain online. But even having, it's okay. Even having said that, let's still have Professor Kitaka come forward to just continue with that discussion just a little bit, and then let's also have Dr. Mugambi. Let's clap for them as they come forward. And that clap also goes to Dr. Jordan, who will be joining us online. Okay. Yes. All right. Okay. Okay. Professor Jordan, just remain online. You will also share your thoughts on the topic, as well as participate in answering to some of these questions. Let's start with you, Professor Kitaka, so that then we don't lose, the track of the discussion on the blue economy. And there's a question here that was asked. What happened to the gains of stimulus programs on fish farming at the household level? Maybe you could, first of all, give your thoughts, and I'm aware there's something you wanted to say during the QA session, and then you start moving towards this, as well as any other input you may have.
Okay, thank you so much. To be requested in the last 1 hour to be part of the panelists. I will try my best, but at least with Professor Jiro has given you quite a lot of insights in terms of the blue economy and given you the potential what the blue economy is, and I'm sure he has walked you through the journey. For the economic stimulus program project, which actually believe it's under Kenya Marine, started way back, and you're looking at what is the impact. I have actually watched the impact of the economic stimulus program with fisheries or aquaculture being one of the component of it, transform lives. When it started, a lot of people, when it started, we had just, people were given ponds. I think they used to give about 2 ponds. They'll give you fingerlings and they'll give you feeding. As Professor Jiro has said, in aquaculture, the secret in success is to have quality feed and also to have good quality fingerlings. Every fingerling is not just a good quality fingerlings, and every feed is not just good fish. That is actually the biggest challenge to most of our farmers. So farmers started the fish farming through the economic stimulus program. Some of them saw the potential, created innovation, and really upscaled. I know a farmer who started with I think 3x4. He didn't have anything. Today, I can tell you he's a millionaire. Presidents are visiting his home. When they come to this country, that's where they go. So the farmers who picked it ran with it. But of course, as Kenyans, sometimes we complain. It's too much work because fish farming is itself, you have to be personally involved. And everybody asks me, why don't you have a fish farm? Because fish farming, you can't farm on phone. You've got to be there on your own. So it's had a lot of impact, and I think when this happened, I remember some politicians went to this farm and they were like, if this man is living like this, then I need this. So if you don't know, most of our politicians, apart from what Jiro has shown you, they are some of the biggest fish farmers through aquaculture. So it's empowered people, it transformed communities, and I keep on asking my students, when was the last time you heard of kwashako? When you were growing up, there used to be a lot of kwashakos. But when was the last time you saw a kid with a kwashako? Because that was the intention of the economic stimulus program, to give cheap and quality protein. So I think basically, maybe if you want more, we can look at, I think Jiro has a lot of it. So it was the trigger to what Professor Jiro has shown today. So it was really a good initiative.
Just allow me to ask this. I know it could be a policy issue even within the university, but this issue he has just raised here about the MOU, and I know you could also play a key role. Is that something that is going to happen, even if the DVC is here?
Oh dear. I can see Dr. Mont laughing, and I know why. He knows why he's laughing. We've actually had an MOU for the longest time with Kenya Marine. And this was brought in when Professor Abdurazak was the DVC research and was the chairman of the board of Kenya Marine. So we had a lot of, I took a lot of students to Gazi. They were not paying anything. We had a few staff members, because I think you heard what he said. You scratch my back, I scratch yours. And I think that was a controversy. And I think I'm laughing because maybe we can discuss it with the DVC and see how we can bring it back. Because the issue, actually the university is the one who actually kind of pushed it out on it. And I think that was actually a big challenge because some students were on board and things didn't work well. So maybe we can revisit. And because with Jiro, we have worked together for very many years, it will be easier to do that. So we actually had one for a long time, but it was on technicalities where it actually didn't work. So with the DVC, we can restart the process again, find out what, I can tell you what the issues are. You don't want to bring them here. And then we see how we can have it reinstated again.
Thank you so much. And I hope once that is done, it will not only cater for people like Dr. Otachi here in biological sciences, even those of us in media and communication. These days we are telling the story of the marine economy, climate change, and so on and so forth. So
yeah, it was actually not focusing on science because, as you know, communication science is one of the biggest things. We actually have a workshop in December on communication science. So any initiative you do does not just target an individual. It was open, but of course it's easier for somebody in water to get in working on fish, but there is economy, as we have talked about, there's social aspect. There's communities involved in this, so it really targets everybody, not necessarily just the water scientists.
Thank you so much. Dr. Jordan, my apologies for kind of saying that we won't be having you in the panel discussion. I hope that you're still online. We'll be getting to you just shortly. But before that, let's have a discussion with Dr. Mugambi, the Acting County Director, Health Administration and Planning for Nakuru County. And we want to look at health financing. Well, of course, we understand that there are certain issues that are all over social media at the moment with respect to the health status in Nakuru County and the War Memorial Hospital and so on. We won't be engaging you on that. On matters universal health care, on matters of primary health care and so on, what do we need to know? But before that, really, is how healthy is our health system?
Thank you very much. Let me start with first introducing myself. I'm Dr. Joy Mugambi. I have spanned through the whole healthcare system, from a clinical officer to medicine, and now I'm a consultant, family physician. My key area is primary healthcare. I'm now a policymaker, and I'm a proud mentee of one of your lecturers. He's seated right there in front of me, Dr. Bure. I stand on the shoulders of giants. He's really been a great mentor all through my career. But to say, yes, how healthy are we? We are healthy, but our systems are not. And we really need to work on the system. We've really focused on secondary health care and forgotten the primary. And we really need to now look at how do we ensure the primary, the first contact of care, is working for you. Not just the help, not the cancer care, not the renal dialysis, not the surgery, but how do I make sure you don't get to that point? And that is the whole concept of primary health care And that is why you have seen the government having brought in the 4 Health Acts. They'll cost us a bit. But ask yourself, in the last 1 year, calculate how many mchangos have you made the whole year? And ask yourself how much you spent for those mchangos. Had you planned for them? No. You're being given a plan up ahead with social health insurance. You're also being given a plan with a strong primary healthcare structure, which we are currently implementing a stronger healthcare system around the primary healthcare. And you're also being digitized and having an army of soldiers who will be able to be available for you at your household. Having someone who knows you, understands you, is your neighbor, who you can call upon in the middle of the night and tell them, I'm unwell, what's the nearest facility can I get to? And using their mobile phone, they enter your details and you just walk into a facility and you're attended to. That's the community health promoter. So it's a whole nexus that's going to make us very healthy.
Thank you so much. You know, the media sector at the moment is mourning a colleague who just went to sleep and she just didn't wake up in the morning. And later on, you know, you have already seen in the information about what took the life of Rita Tidina. Primary health care and universal health care, how are they related?
Okay, primary health care is your first contact, but universal health care, health coverage, not health care, it's universal health coverage, is meant to ensure equity, that we all get the same health standards, not that because you're a lecturer or because I'm a doctor and I have studied so hard, my medical cover should be higher than that one person out in the village. We are getting something equitable. On top of it, a financing model that ensures that we all get it. Then quality, and that's the whole aspects of universal health coverage. But when it comes to primary health care, how far are you going to get health services? They shouldn't be more than 5 kilometers from your household. That dispensary should not be more than 1 kilometer away. It should be next to you, available with services, with commodities, and that's the whole aspect of primary health care. Yes, we can talk of universal health coverage, but if the primary health care service, which is at the very household level, is not available, then we are not achieving it.
Thank you so much. Perhaps we are yet to start feeling the pain of the social insurance health fund because the deductions are yet, you know, to be commenced. But what do we need to know about the social insurance health fund, you know, with respect to the deductions and so on? What is the most important information that we need to know? Yeah.
So previously, our NHIF cover did not cater for you at the primary health care level. It was more at the upper level. And remember, it had inequities. There was we at the civil service who had a cover which was very high ranking. Then there was the common man who had a cover which could only take care of them within the public sector, but the packages when they came to even the private sector were inadequate. So the social health insurance is coming to mitigate that. There will be a primary health care fund. If you go to the dispensary will be well resourced under the facility improvement fund, which was one of the other acts. They'll be able to claim a user fee and be able to run their services. Now that's health financing. They'll be able to have some money to procure, purchase, and run their services. These primary health care services have been highly dependent on the donor. And we have been under a Danida fund that has now, is now going away. We've been on a 35 contribution. This year we are now at 50-50, and next year the Danida will be doing 35 will be doing 75%. So we are hoping that with the facility improvement where now social health insurance will reimburse us a user fee, the facilities will be able to run. Beyond that, there'll be a chronic care fund. Remember, with NHIF, there's a point where it used to reach and your money is done. But now with the chronic care fund, those ones with chronic illnesses, hypertension, diabetes, cancer, will be able to be catered for at the level 4 and 5 facilities, and also all the way to level 6. There'll be facilities to be able to cater for what cannot be catered within the county and the country, and people will be able to be transferred to facilities where they can be catered for even internationally. But the social health insurance will at least enhance equity. And also, we had a lot of challenges as facilities and health service delivery points, because there are people who can't afford even to pay for NHIF. But the government has set aside an indigent fund that will cater for the vulnerable, the orphans, and those in incarceration, the prisoners. Sometimes you find they also need health needs, and they have them, but they don't have an NHIF card. So who pays for you? We live in debt as institutions, and we are not able to cater for the populations that we are also caring for as healthcare providers.
All right. I know when we want to be as basic as possible, we usually, say or ask, explain it like you're explaining to my grandma. I know this audience would like to know and actually explain as if we're explaining to our grandmothers. Once this 2.7% of my gross pay is deducted, and of course for the others it has been reduced from 500 to 300. Once that is done, am I done with thinking about financing my healthcare needs? Is that the end?
I think that's the end. But you have a responsibility. Budgets are made by the people. And I say budgets are made by you and me. They are not made by me in the office. You need to participate in the public participations when budgets come to you. When they come to you, you need to question what has been put in those budgets. You need to question how that money has been utilized, and you need to campaign for further allocation for you to be able to have better health. Currently, Nakuru is one of the counties that receives a huge budget allocation, but we are not yet there, because when you look at government structures of budget utilization, 35% goes to human resource, 35% to operations and maintenance, and then 30% has to go to development. 35% for human resource. We can't meet that. It's very little. How do we ensure that human resource is made a development agenda, so that when you come to the facility, you won't complain of the waiting times. You won't complain you didn't see a specialist. You won't complain you didn't see anyone within the facility. 35% for operations and maintenance. That is where your drugs are. That's where the supplies and commodities are. Is it enough? Have we reached our development agenda? Not yet. But how do we ensure that the health agenda is more financed so that it doesn't just stick on those caveats of percentages?
All right. Thank you so much. We like putting visions. Even this, whatever we have is anchored on Vision 2030. And how many years are we now away from Vision 2030? Is it 5? We could actually just say 5, right? Are we there? And I know it's also connected to, agenda, is it 2060? Right? And then sustainable development goals and so on. So sometimes we usually feel like these are just dreams. We just put dreams and we never get there. Still the question would be, will we stop this? We usually call it medical tourism, right? But that is an issue you could get back to as, you know, we wind up. I invite you to start thinking about the questions, you know, to engage her. Really, what she's talking about is the issue of equity in access to health. And I know, Professor Martin, you have been an advocate on matters equity. Equity in education, this is matters equity in health, and so on and so forth. I will be inviting Dr. Jordan to talk to us. And kindly, Dr. Jordan, note that these are the issues that you will address to. You will explain to us really what is a One Health approach, what is the difference between One Health approach and the planetary health, and then lastly, what is the One Health approach, why is the One Health approach important in food systems transformation? So get ready to respond to that. And as you do that, let me come back to you, Professor Kitaka. This is actually a question.
Excuse me, sir. I have to interrupt you here. I'm very, very, very sorry, but I was expecting to talk at 9, and I have another meeting at 11, and I really have to move. So if you want my responses to those 3 questions, I have to start talking now. And
okay,
I'm
go ahead.
very, very sorry that I could not come in person to Nakuru. It would have been much nicer.
All right,
I know that.
Just go ahead. Just go ahead.
Okay, and please excuse me, a big excuse to the audience that I'm interrupting like this, as I was really confused with the schedule in the end, waiting for 2 hours now. So my name is Imge Jordan. I'm working at the Alliance Biodiversity International and CIAT in Nairobi, which is the Africa hub for the Alliance within Sub-Saharan Africa, where we work in more than 60 countries and regions. And basically, my background is now human nutrition and home economic sciences. I have very nice relationships to Egerton University, so I really feel very sad not to be there with you at this stage. Coming back to the question regarding One Health, One Health is focusing on the medical perspective of the human health and the animal health. It doesn't necessarily include the health part of fish, depending on how you identify fish as an animal, yes or no. And it has been developing part of their understanding that if we treat animals with antibiotics, like we are talking here about chicken, goats, and cattle mainly, this will bounce back to developing resistancy in human health. So this approach needs to be really understood that even if you treat livestock with antibiotics and it may be going via the milk consumption or meat consumption, egg consumptions into the human systems, we may also have excessive excreted antibiotics in the soil, which has an impact on soil health, but by just a reduced microbiome. This in turn has impact on our soil health as such that the plant health is affected. But the One Health approach is focusing on the linkage animal and human health only. The planetary health is including much more dimensions like climate change and environmental boundaries, health boundaries, which you seem to cross every day. And you may know by this month, we have crossed the boundaries for this year already globally, but also Kenya is crossing boundaries anytime, depending on how you move forward. And I just listened to the keynote speaker, Professor Yuri, that you were mentioning as the main objective to improve the blue economy is the income level, is the way how much money you can get out of it. Out of the system. And there was one small sentence where you talked about sustainability in the system, which means do we have enough young fish coming up, which actually could potentially be harvested maybe in 2 or 3 months or maybe in a year, depending on how the recovery of the fish population takes place. And I would like you to look into what does it mean if we cross environmental boundaries. part of the biggest experience we face is the climate change. So it's heat stress coming across the globe, but in particular also to Kenyan populations. And you may have heard about the heat stress in the northern counties in Kenya, where schools are getting closed because it might be a health impact on the population. And when we talk about the food systems transformation and we talk about planetary health, we talk about how should our diet, our consumer behavior be shaped that we don't cross environmental boundaries, but also our own health boundaries. So diabetes, non-communicable diseases related to sugary intake, to animal source food intake, bouncing back to us in terms of CO2 and greenhouse gas emission, while we are over-consuming meat and animal source foods among the more wealthier population. And you may reflect yourself on how many meals per day and per week you're consuming animal source foods. The international guidelines recommend actually a 300-gram portion meat per week, which means once per week you may have a piece of beef and maybe 1 egg per week, but you should also consume fish and more nuts and seeds and many more legumes, although Kenyan population are already eating a lot of legumes, which are beans, lentils, ground nuts, etc. So when we bounce back to what is the One Health approach for the food systems transformation, it's a very small fraction, and I would rather say the focus should be more on the planetary health, as if we focus only on the medical issues of livestock and human health, we forget that we cross environmental boundaries every day. And there is where we may have to look into how can we diversify the diets to prevent medical complications, which could be avoided by reducing our meat consumption, by reducing our sugar consumption. When we talk about sweetened beverages, for example, it's one of the key sources, but also the very sugared tea is one source for sugar, which leads to diabetes. And then we have the medical treatment, and there is a vicious cycle all involved in there. But we should not forget that those two systems, the planetary system and their human health system, is very much intertwined when it comes to outcomes. In the environmental system, we don't focus only on the livestock. As I said before, we focus into all the environmental factors we have. So fishing in Nakuru, being a national park, is also part of potential loss of biodiversity. Fishing in Victoria Lake and the transition we see in terms of the fish population has already at the edge of environmental degradation. We may have to look into heavy metals in the lake. We may have to look into plastic in the oceans and the lake. And this bounces back to what do we do to prevent this environmental impact, as everything comes back to us in the food systems as a potential food, and where we also already know that in our systems, in our muscles and organs, we store the plastic we have put into the water. Thank you very much for listening to me. Unfortunately, I have to leave now, and I really wish you a very fruitful discussion looking into the boundaries which we may trespass any day, and to make the decisions on which one may be more important for you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jordan. How we wish that you are with us here physically, but your comments and contribution have been picked very clearly. Asante sana.
Thank you.
Those comments.
Karibu sana, and very sorry that I cannot stay with you now.
It's okay, asante. Those comments from Dr. Jordan coming actually at the wake of this region in, or is it a village in central region that was really devastated the other day when they consumed meat from the carcass of a cow that was actually infected, right? Yeah, so very important issues that she raises there. I want us to move towards the end of this discussion. Perhaps just one or two questions to Dr. Mugambi as she tells us really the way forward, especially on matters of the social insurance health fund. There's already a question here for Professor Kitaka, and it's on stakeholder engagement in resource management. Perhaps you could really just shed a light on that. And then if there's any question, and now I stand, is it possible we just limit ourselves to just two questions, then we end it. Okay, Professor Maritim.
Yes, mine is on health. At our age, health is very important. Now, with the social insurance fund, is it a plan to push everybody to public hospitals? Where is the role and the place of private universities? Are we still going to buy insurance? Of course, you didn't answer. The question was 2.7. Is it all? To me, it is not all. Because we will not be in dispensary. All of us, the population of Kenya will not be queuing in dispensaries. Public hospitals is not enough. They are crowded. It will be inefficient. So where are we really? Is there private hospitals still in existence? Are we still going to buy insurance? Because that has been the source of our health, insurance.
Thank you so much. Let's have Dr. Obure. This Fisher turned scholar had raised his hand before you, but because of seniority, it's okay. Just ask, and then the mic will be taken to you. It's okay. Just go forward, since you already have the mic, so that we can save on time.
Thank you. Thank you. Mine is partly a comment and a question to my colleague, Dr. Mugambi. We know this. We state this for everybody to hear. When we see certain illnesses in our society, including renal failure requiring dialysis, requiring transplantation, and a lot of maintenance medications, huge sums of money needed, we comment, we say, that is a reflection of a failed health system. Recently, we have developed these, you call them promoters. My concern is, what is their training? Do you have plans to educate them appropriately? At least, for example, we know part of renal failure is due to indiscriminate use of pain relievers, the famous diclofenac, and we should, we should have a way of training them to do this, training them to promote good health in terms of nutrition and interaction in One Health between human beings and the environment. That is my comment and partly a question.
Thank you so much. The gentleman over there, and then we close it, please. And we do that as we start getting ready for the photo session.
Thank you very much. My question is very simple. Currently, when you go to hospitals, the NHIF that we have is, as you said, very downgraded to an extent that they're giving a lot of priority to private kind of insurance. Now, when we go into the socio insurance, is it going to be treated the same way so that the people who are on this, and especially for us who are in government, we are forced by law to be on socio insurance? What kind of treatment is it going to be given vis-a-vis the private kind of insurance? Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Noel Cosmos from Rongo University. My question is on the issue about the adoption of the new insurance model for healthcare. How safe is the patient's data in the system? Because when we look at on the previous instances with NHIF, like the recent instance rate in January where a lot of data was compromised, and when we do a comparison with the greatest and the largest financing insurance model in terms of healthcare, the NHS Trust, which was also compromised just last week. And when we look on the issue about technology adoption in NHS Trust is quite high and quite sophisticated than the Kenya technological domain. What is now the security landscape of healthcare data in Kenya?
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And Dr. Mugambi, as you get ready to respond to those questions, there's also another one here that there are machines and equipment for diagnostics at Nakuru main facilities, but there are no experts to interpret the outputs or results or read the results. The patients are required to take the imagery to a private expert for analysis, paying more money. Is this a good thing? Is it ethical? And so on. You'll be getting ready to respond to that as you also give us your last comment. Professor Kitaka, any other issue that is pending? Give us also your end note, please. Thank you.
I think I'll start from the comments which were given by the panelists online. Currently, when we talk about food security, we are finding, especially on fish, we are finding with our students, we have actually looked at the Joro River, and we found we already have antibiotics resistance. Meaning that, I'm not a doctor, but the doctors are here, meaning that the people really using that water, we have a very high antibiotics and most commonly use antibiotics in terms of resistance through research, meaning that when these people are prescribed those medicines, they will not get healed if you are using that water for a long time. So there are many ways. In terms of that, we are looking at microplastics in Lake Victoria, and we've really find quite high concentration of microplastics in Lake Victoria in fish. In fact, the student has just finished the thesis, he's just submitting it, and I have a student coming in from Makerere who is also going to look at microplastics in fish in Kenyan waters, Lake Victoria waters, and in Ugandan waters. So these are new concerns, and which we really, apart from the heavy metals, which we really have to take them seriously. Unfortunately, with the microplastics, it's a new research area. We don't have a lot of it, but I will tell you at the moment is a concern, and a big concern. Even for Lake Nakuru, I'm sure if we look at the fish apart from the ecotoxicological studies, we'll find a lot of microplastics. When you look at the plastics in River Joro, you'll find a lot of microplastics in that fish apart from just the heavy metals. Okay, the other thing is what we need to talk about. When Jiro talked about, you know, sometimes we have all this, we have the policies, and you wonder why things don't work. Like I know, like I was talking about, like seaweed farming was a big thing in Kenyan coast in the 90s, but it didn't peak, and yet it's a multi-million business. If you go to Zanzibar, you go to elsewhere. So sometimes our cultural aspects is really deters on that, because to do a seaweed farmer, you need to wake up during the low tide, if it's at midnight, and you go to your farm in the sea. That's when you go to the farm. Most of the low tide come at 6 o'clock. So they go for a few days, they're like, okay. So, but what we need to know is we can never succeed on this on our own. Stakeholder engagement is key in everything. And I think previously what has been going on, policy were top-down policies, and universities research were university-down research, but we have to change the way we do things. You have to engage the stakeholders. And the stakeholders, meaning engaging, sometimes we go and meet the community, we think we have engaged the stakeholders. No, we have tools, very good tools, like what we call T-Lab, what we call SEED approach, where you engage the stakeholders. I'm not using communities, because community is just one component of the stakeholders. You need to do your stakeholder analysis, who is working in this system, what are they doing, what are their responsibilities, so that everybody knows what their responsibility and how they interact, because the health system of that in that. And I'll give a very good example. 2 weeks I'll be in Nandi, engaging stakeholders in the county government and people in Nandi. In December, we did one in Siaya. And the most amazing thing is we had already caught cases in terms of management of the Yala Swamp, for those who know Yala Swamp. And there was a big controversy between the county government, the lead government agencies, and the communities. And a 2 days workshop, when you do your stakeholders analysis very well, by the time we left there, the community actually withdrew the cases, which they'd already put in court. The reason is sometimes it is misguidance. Sometimes it's politically aligned, where a politician wants to make sure that their people think he's fighting for them, but they absolutely have no knowledge. So it is a high time we really, even in healthcare, that is the way to go. Let the people identify the challenges, let the people come up with a solution. That's why we call it SEED approach. And get a gauge. I think the DVC has been in one of my sessions here on River Joro, and I can tell you a lot has come up from those sessions. We have a monthly monitoring in River Joro by the communities themselves, apart from planting tree. There are a lot of other things which is working there. And therefore, when you do that, you can actually step back and you watch it and monitor it from far. So I think that is my closing link, that let's not just go there as scientists, we think we know, but when you engage with these people, and also when you are doing the stakeholder analysis, please do a well stakeholder analysis, because you leave one stakeholder, that is going to be a problem. And I think that is what they are bringing. Where is the private sector in healthcare, especially the private insurance, who have been running this for the last centuries in Kenya? If they are not involved in this new system, I can tell you, as Professor Maritima said, that is definitely going to bring a problem. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Dr. Mugambe, in the next 2 minutes, kindly wind it up for us.
Thank you very much. I'm partly a politician, so 2 minutes may be short. Now, for the stakeholder engagement, and are we involving private, faith-based, and public sector? As a government, the private, faith-based, and the public sector are all involved in the social health insurance. So you'll get services in a faith-based organization, in a private facility. We've mapped them. Actually, the last 3 weeks, our job right now, yesterday I was busy in Naivasha, facility to facility, public, private, faith-based clinics, everything, mapping them, because they'll all be involved in social health insurance. They'll be able to claim user fee from their facilities. Previously, our biggest challenge, there was the question back there, that how are we going to ensure that facilities do get they offer the service. Previously, it was on capitation. And with capitation, you are given money. Ni kama kupewa pesa for free grant. You're given the money. Then you offer the service. So you've been given a lump sum of money. I can decide to even just give you Panado and you go. Now, your service that you offer in the clinic right now, I've seen you have hypertension, you have diabetes, I'll now claim for that service I have offered you. Previously was being paid in advance, now it will be paid after the services is offered. A private clinic running was not being, was not claiming under NHIF. A private clinic will be able to claim. Whether I'm running a private clinic, a hospital, a dispensary, a health center, a big facility, will all be able to get the money. But remember, governments are mandated to offer health for all. So equity is key. And first thing that a government will think of is all the population. And that is why social health insurance comes in. Now, as an employer, let's say Egerton, you look at your employees, you decide social health insurance is not adequate, you can engage a private insurance. There is no problem. As an individual, you feel your social health insurance is not catering for you adequately, you're free to engage a private insurance. But the government's mandate is to the whole of Kenya population. So equity is key, and that is what the strategy is all meant to do through the social health insurance. My boss and my mentor has asked about the fact that, yes, we are now engaging community health promoters. Over time, we have seen these chronic illnesses escalating to a cost that even governments can't handle. even households can't handle. The community health promoters have been undergoing training. One is for the non-communicable disease screening. Remember, the bags contain screening for diabetes, screening for hypertension, and we hope that with time they will be enhanced. We also have them being trained in terms of identifying childhood illnesses, how to identify a fever, how to refer, and ensure that they are appropriately done on time. So we have room. Today we are talking about research and innovation. Our biggest challenge has been registering households. This is the middle class and the high class team. Opening your gates has become a problem to that community health promoter. And being able to get to register your households for you to be able to access your social health insurance has become a challenge. We urge you, please, if possible, open the houses. Let this community health promoter register your household, because when social health insurance comes, you will not be able to access the health services as you'd want them, even at the level 5, especially at the level 5 and 4 facilities where services are more advanced. And remember, some of your private facilities are level 4 and 5, and so if you're not registered and you don't have your unique number, your referral will be a challenge. You'll have to use your out-of-pocket. You asked me something else about the machines and equipments.
Yes.
Systems improve over time. We know that was a challenge. Just while I was seated there, a colleague called me and told me I had expected that I would call you for help for my mother to get an MRI and get assisted, but she was saying, Asante. The mother came in with no assistance, was helped, and said she really got very good service of high class with very good health workers who supported her all through. They didn't know who she was. And this is a mother of someone who's very high ranking in the health system, but she came in and walked into PGH on her own and was served. Please don't listen to social media. Come yourself. I personally walk into our facility, sit there, go through the service points, and get offered my services without having to be skipped my queue and having to go through all the service delivery points. Services are for you people. They are offered by the people who serve you, and we've got no mandate to cut systems and be able to do corrupt things in the process. But if you are referred somewhere else, those services are available. Please report, and there are numbers within the walls for you to report. As a closing point, one, as a closing point, the university is very key. We truly appreciate the support you've offered the county. One, as a health department, if there is a university we work very closely with, it's Egerton. Egerton has a representative in our research committee, Alice Maranga, and she's very vocal, and we truly appreciate her because she really contributes in every monthly meeting and is there to ensure that we are doing the right thing. So that's good collaboration. The dean has been there to co-create and collaborate in terms of ensuring the students are supported, and we hope that we can go further. I feel bad sometimes and wonder if our brains within Kenya are shrunk, but they open up when we go into international spaces and we do a lot of innovations. What's stifling us? What's causing us not to innovate within our country? Is it us as governments that we are not supporting you, or is it the institutions that are stifling the good knowledge that is coming in to be able to innovate? So we have a lot of opportunities to innovate. We need to translate this knowledge. I have seen people coming in for interviews with awesome research done in Egerton. And I asked them, has this ever translated into policy within the county? Have you shared it at the county assembly? Have you shared it with the executive? No, they are just papers in your file. Please let it not be the end. Come, you've got findings that are important. Let's write policies, let's write cabinet memos that address our executive and that really make transformative change on the ground. Then community transformation. We've been told let's not just speak to the community. Engage them. Let them be part of your research. Let them work with you. Sometimes as academicians, we assume we know what the community needs. The community knows what it needs, and they can work with you to ensure that your research is a success. To wind it up, solutions are homegrown, and we are the home. Let's grow them here. Thank you.
Maybe
So much.
Chairman,
Yes?
you can just finish. I felt we were discussing about fish, and I felt we must give accolades. I know we are all saying we are not eating fish from Nakuru, but honestly, the source of that information started from Egerton. And I would like to thank Dr. Otachi, the chairman of this session, who actually took up that research when we wanted to do it with a student, Mary Nantogo, LWM student from Uganda, where we sponsored the research, and that's where the first indicator came in. And I think after publishing their work, Kenya Marine came in, KWS came in, and they confirmed. So all what you are seeing today is actually homegrown. So congratulations.
Thank you so much. We are saying that everything beautiful starts at Egerton University. Professor Njiru said he is at Kisii University, and that's our mother. I mean, that's our baby, eh? Cindy. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I request that we bring this to a close at that point. A round of applause to all of us, but specifically to Professor James Njiru, CEO and Director General, Kemfree, Dr. Jordan from Biodiversity Kenya, Dr. Joy Mugabe from Nakuru County, and our very own Professor Nzula Kitaka. Asante sana. Thank you so much. And now with that, I request that we just proceed for the group photo. And we were supposed to do rounds again like we did yesterday at the stands, but is it possible we request that that just continues throughout? Sawa sawa. So let's just go for the group photo. Is at the stairs, and then after that we go for tea and we start our breakout sessions. Just 20 minutes and we go back to the breakout sessions. Asante sana. Thank you.